We often hear people say, follow your heart. And that has been confusing to me because I was raised to be a Christian and be a believer. And there's a scripture that says that the heart is deceitful. You find it in Jeremiah 17 verses 9, and it says, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately sick. Who can understand it? And so the advice to follow your heart, and then the contrast of the scripture that says your heart can be deceitful, really confuses me sometimes. And I saw a video the other day that really helped me understand when is it safe to listen to yourself and when should you rather not listen to yourself, because this is something that confuses me. It's a paradox. So I find these things interesting in life. I have some notes in front of me just so that I stay on track for the video, otherwise I'll blabble on forever. And so how do we know when we are experiencing a truth that comes from our body that we know we are feeling, and when are we experiencing our truth that can come from our hearts and can actually be deceptive? And when are we being led by intuition or by God's voice? And all of these things, I think, is so important to understand when to follow and when to wait. And this has really helped me. So if you want to learn, please join me for this ride. I have 4 points that I want to discuss with you today. So number 1 is when you think, you feel. And the more that you feel things, the more you think about them. And so this creates a rumination loop. You think, you feel. The more you feel, the more you think. The more you think, the more you feel. And this is how overthinking is born. Okay, so you know where to stop it. Don't think too much. So eventually you can think yourself into your truth instead of the truth. And that is where it becomes dangerous, is when we think and feel ourselves into an overthinking pattern or a rumination loop, and then you make that the truth. But it's not the truth, it's your truth that you thought and you felt out in your own body by repeating it over and over again. And often this becomes your memory. And so you might have a different memory of the events. And the reason for that is because you thought about it so much, you felt about it so much, and you kept repeating your version of what happened. And that then becomes your truth. So eventually you can think yourself into the truth, right? And that's where we find that's dangerous. That's deceitful, is thinking yourself out of the truth and into your truth. And so the longer you stay in that cycle, the more you are convincing yourself of your perception, even if it's objectively not true. Okay. Point number 2 I want to discuss is that feeling your feelings is different than thinking your feelings. Feeling your feelings is not the same as thinking them. Research shows that it takes you 90 seconds, so 99 seconds, in which you can feel your emotions, you can feel your feelings. And this is a very important step to do because we don't want you to suppress them. Okay, and so even if they are true or not, whether they are real or not, they're real for you. And so you need to honor them by feeling them. So allow yourself to feel. You go, you sit still, and you allow yourself to experience what you are feeling. And because they deserve to be acknowledged. And so once the emotion has moved through you, once you've sat for your 90 seconds and thought and felt and tried to think or focus on not the thinking part, on the feeling part. Okay, so you feel your feelings, your emotions, and you sit there and you feel them for 90 seconds, and then you get up and you move on. And the whole process of moving on is to say, now let's find the truth and not my truth. Okay, so remember, the truth is not defensive. The truth is not critical. The truth simply is. And so when your feelings become defensive, when your feelings become critical, then you know it's probably not the truth. That is just your feelings and your thinking connecting and creating your truth. I hope this isn't confusing because it made sense to me when I wrote it down, but now I'm feeling like I'm repeating a bunch of things, but let's continue. I hope you're keeping with me here. So emotions are connected to your gut, and emotions are often connected to your intuition. And how do they differ from feelings that you think and feel? So what is this difference between emotions and feelings? Emotions are connected to your gut, and they often come from the truth. And this is where it always got confusing for me as well, because sometimes you think, well, that's just your truth, and other times your feelings can be so truthful and so rooted in the truth. And this is the reason. There is a difference between emotions and feelings. Your intuition is connected to your emotions, and it is an inner knowing. It often comes without excessive thought. So one of the examples that I saw that I thought, this is just brilliant, is they said that if you know something is true, it's as if you don't have words to explain what your emotions are telling you is the truth. You just know that you know, and you have very little words, and that's the difference. Feelings can be connected to your thoughts, where emotions aren't necessarily connected to your thoughts. They just connected to the truth, and it's unmovable. And so intuition is connected to your emotions, and it is an inner knowing. It often comes without excessive thought, and it often comes without perceptive thought. So it's not your perception about a thing. It's not you repeating things. It's not your repetition of a thought that creates the emotion. The emotion is connected to truth, and therefore is rooted in truth, and there's very little thinking and very little ruminating about it. It's more of a relief. It's that breath that you take. It's that scripture that says the truth will set you free. It's that feeling of, oh, I have it, I know what it is. And so it often comes without words. Because intuition comes from an inner knowing, it is far less influenced by other people's opinions, your fears, your overthinking, or your emotional reactions. It simply knows. Okay, so it's just the truth. And so there's nothing to think about. It's the truth. Many times we struggle to explain intuition because we don't yet have language for what we know. And this is why I believe it is dangerous to follow your heart when you can think and feel yourself into an untruth. However, following an inner knowing that comes from the gut without attaching stories, thoughts, or emotional interpretations to it is often much safer. So number 4 is what you focus on, you will grow. We all know this. Whatever you think about, whatever you ruminate about, the more you think about the negative things, the more negative things you will see. The more you think about finding a red car, the more red cars will pop up, but you'll miss the yellow car and the green car because you are not focusing on them. So whatever you continually think about and emotionally invest in becomes stronger. If you repeatedly focus on fearful thoughts or fearful emotions, that fear will grow. If you repeatedly reinforce painful stories, those stories will become your reality. It will become who you think you are. And this is why it's not always safe to follow your thoughts or your feelings, which come from the heart, right? Sometimes they are pointing to a wound rather than the truth, and that is all perception. So be aware of what you think, be aware of what you feel, but remember, thoughts are not always the truth. Feelings are not always the truth. The truth comes from an inner knowing, and the truth cannot be manufactured by overthinking. The truth cannot be manipulated by other people's opinions. The truth often arrives quietly, and it frequently lacks words. It does not need to be defended, and that is a very different thing from thoughts and emotions and observations that you make, that you think about and then have a feeling about. So before you follow your heart, ask yourself, am I following a thought or a wound? Or am I following a feeling? Or am I following an inner knowing that remains true even when my feelings and my thoughts will change? Learning to distinguish between these three things may be one of the most important skills that you develop in your life.
Please feel free to leave a comment. If you like this video, click the like button. Remember to subscribe to our channel and don't forget to ring the bell.